Imagine a battlefield where the weapons are words, the soldiers are algorithms, and the territory is your mind. Welcome to the world of political psychological warfare. I'm Answers for Humanity, and in this video we're diving deep into the shadowy realm where politics meets psychology. Buckle up, because what you're about to learn might change the way you see the world forever. Now I know what you're thinking. Propaganda? That's so last century, darling. Black and white posters of dudes with fantastically square jaws telling me how swell cigarettes are. And you'd be right, partially. See, propaganda itself isn't new. Humanity's been manipulating other humans since we figured out grunting alone wasn't quite getting the point across. But like a virus mutating for maximum spread, propaganda's evolved. It's slicker now, sneaks up on you wearing a free hugs t-shirt while slipping you a philosophical roofie. Take those catchy slogans politicians are so fond of, hope and change, yes we can. Sound familiar? They're designed to bypass your critical thinking entirely and latch onto emotions. Fear, nostalgia, hope, it's all fair game. And before you know it, you're chanting a phrase that may or may not actually mean anything concrete. But damn, it feels good to be part of something bigger. And don't even get me started on the emotional manipulation. And we're talking heartstring-tugging stories, carefully curated images designed to evoke outrage or pity, all delivered with the precision of a surgeon who specializes in your amygdala. The goal, to make you forget about logic, evidence, all that boring stuff, and just feel. Because who needs facts when you've got righteous fury, right? It's insidious, really. You're bombarded with this stuff constantly, from the news you consume, and let's be honest, how much of that is actually news anymore? To the ads that follow you around the internet like that creepy ex who just knows where you hang out online. Did you know the average person encounters over 5,000 persuasive messages daily? 5,000, that's like a whole TED Talk's worth of information dedicated to convincing you to buy something, believe something, or just generally feel some type of way. Now, I'm not saying everything you see or hear is propaganda designed to warp your fragile little mind, but it's important to be aware of the techniques being used to develop that internal bullshit detector. Because the more you understand how propaganda works, the better equipped you are to spot it, call it out, and most importantly, not let it turn your brain into its personal little puppet show. Remember the good old days of social media? Back when the biggest threat to your sanity was your aunt's obsession with posting motivational minion memes? Simpler times. Because now social media's gone from a place to share blurry photos of your lunch to a full-blown psychological battleground where your attention is the prize and the algorithms are ruthless mercenaries. See, political actors, both foreign and domestic, have figured out that the best way to influence you isn't through some top-down propaganda machine, but by manipulating the very fabric of your online reality. They do this by creating what we call echo chambers, online spaces where you're constantly exposed to information that confirms your existing beliefs, no matter how wacky or unfounded they may be. Think about it. Algorithms track every like, every share, every angry comment you leave on that one acquaintance's post who still thinks the earth is flat. And what do they do with that information? Well, they feed you more of the same, of course. More articles confirming your biases, more posts from like-minded individuals, all carefully curated to keep you outraged, engaged, and most importantly, clicking. It's the digital equivalent of only ever talking to people who already agree with you, which, let's be honest, sounds like a special kind of hell. But online, it's dangerously easy to fall into these echo chambers, to become so convinced of your own rightness that any dissenting opinion feels like a personal attack. And that's where the real danger lies. Because when we're constantly bombarded with information that reinforces our existing beliefs, it becomes that much harder to engage in critical thinking, to consider alternative viewpoints, or even just to have a civil conversation with someone who disagrees with us. We become more polarized, more entrenched in our own ideologies, and ultimately easier to manipulate. Unless you think this is just some abstract concept, let's talk about the 2020 US election, shall we? Remember that whole debacle? Well, it turns out that over 3,500 Facebook ads were created by foreign entities to influence voters. 3,500. That's more ads than there are flavors of ice cream, and trust me, I've done the research. The point is, these ads were micro-targeted to exploit existing divisions, to sow discord and distrust, and to ultimately undermine the very fabric of American democracy. Now, I'm not saying that social media is inherently evil. It can be a powerful tool for connection, for community building, and for sharing pictures of your cat doing adorable cat things. But it's also a tool that can be used for manipulation, for control, and for shaping public opinion in ways we're only just beginning to understand. So the next time you're scrolling through your feed, take a moment to ask yourself, is this algorithm showing me this because it's true, or because it knows it'll get a rise out of me? Chapter 3. Disinformation campaigns, where lies spread faster than a Kardashian wedding announcement. You know that old saying, a lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is putting on its shoes? Well, in the age of the internet, lies can travel around the world and back again before the truth even has a chance to find its socks. Welcome to the wonderful world of disinformation campaigns, where up is down, black is white, and your Uncle Gary's Facebook rants are suddenly considered a credible source of information. Okay, maybe not that last one, but you get the point. Disinformation campaigns are all about spreading false or misleading information with the intent to deceive, manipulate, or sow chaos. And in the age of social media, deepfakes, and coordinated, inauthentic behavior, these campaigns have become more sophisticated and more dangerous than ever before. Let's start with deepfakes, shall we? These are videos that have been digitally manipulated to make it look like someone is saying or doing something they never actually did. And let me tell you, these things are getting scarily good. We're talking about videos so convincing that they can fool even the most discerning viewer, and that's a terrifying prospect. Imagine a world where you can't even trust your own eyes, where seeing is no longer believing. But deepfakes are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to disinformation. We've also got coordinated inauthentic behavior, which is a fancy way of saying a bunch of fake accounts working together to make something trend on social media. Think of it like a digital flash mob, but instead of dancing, they're spreading lies and propaganda. These campaigns can be incredibly effective at shaping public opinion, particularly when they tap into existing fears, prejudices, or grievances. And because they often originate from anonymous sources or foreign actors, it can be difficult to track down the perpetrators and hold them accountable. So what can you do to protect yourself from the onslaught of digital deception? Well, for starters, be skeptical. Just because something is shared by someone you know and love, or at least tolerate, on social media doesn't make it true. In fact, it's probably best to approach everything you see online with a healthy dose of skepticism, especially if it seems sensational, emotionally charged, or too good to be true. And speaking of too good to be true, if you see a headline that makes you want to scream into the void, take a deep breath and ask yourself, who benefits from me believing this? Who is trying to manipulate my emotions and why? Because chances are there's more to the story than meets the eye. Look for credible sources of information. Stick to reputable news organizations, fact-checking websites, and experts in their field. And for the love of all that is holy, stop getting your news from your crazy uncle's Facebook feed. Unless, of course, you enjoy being lied to and manipulated, in which case carry on. The point is, we're living in an age where information is more accessible than ever before, but it's also more easily manipulated and distorted. So stay vigilant, stay informed, and remember, just because you read it on the internet doesn't make it true. Chapter 4. Cognitive biases, the brain's greatest hits, and not in a good way. All right, folks, time for a little self-reflection. Don't worry, this isn't group therapy, though if we were all being honest with ourselves, we could probably use it after delving into the cesspool of political psychological warfare. No, today's session is all about those wonderful, wacky quirks of our brains that make us so susceptible to manipulation. Let's talk cognitive biases, baby. Now, our brains are incredible, don't get me wrong. They're capable of amazing feats of creativity, problem solving, and remembering that one embarrassing thing you did in high school that you really wish you could forget. But they're also lazy, like really lazy. Our brains are all about conserving energy, taking shortcuts wherever possible, and that's where cognitive biases come in. These are essentially mental shortcuts, rules of thumb that help us process information quickly and efficiently. The problem is these shortcuts often lead to errors in judgment, flawed decision-making, and a whole lot of susceptibility to manipulation. Fun fact, There are over 180 identified cognitive biases. That's right, over 180 ways your brain is tricking you at this very moment. Makes you wonder if you can trust anything, doesn't it? But don't worry, we're going to focus on a few of the big hitters, the cognitive biases that political actors just love to exploit. First up, we've got confirmation bias, which is our tendency to seek out and favor information that confirms our existing beliefs while ignoring or downplaying information that contradicts them. It's why you can show your uncle all the scientific evidence in the world about election interference, and he'll still find a way to blame it on conspiracy theories. Then there's the availability heuristic, which is our tendency to overestimate the likelihood of events that are more easily recalled. So if you see a lot of news coverage about, say, shark attacks, you might start to believe that shark attacks are a much bigger threat than they actually are, even though statistically you're more likely to be killed by a vending machine. Side note, vending machines are terrifying and should be treated with extreme caution. We've also got the bandwagon effect, which is our tendency to conform to the beliefs and behaviors of the majority, even if those beliefs and behaviors are completely bonkers. And let's not forget about the framing effect, which is our tendency to be influenced by the way information is presented to us. For example, people are more likely to support a policy described as saving lives than one described as costing jobs. Even if the two policies are functionally identical, the point is our brains are riddled with these cognitive biases, these mental loopholes that political actors can exploit to shape our perceptions, influence our decisions, and ultimately control our behavior. But here's the good news. Awareness is key. By understanding how these biases work, we can start to recognize them in ourselves and others and hopefully mitigate their influence. So the next time you're about to make a decision, especially a political one, take a moment to ask yourself, am I being influenced by facts and logic, or am I falling prey to one of my many cognitive biases? It's not always easy to tell, but with a little introspection and a healthy dose of skepticism, we can start to break free from the shackles of our own flawed thinking. As we've seen, political psychological warfare is a complex and pervasive force in our modern world. But knowledge is power. By understanding these techniques, we can become more critical consumers of information, recognize manipulation attempts in real time, make more informed political decisions. Remember, in this hidden war, your mind is the ultimate battleground. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and never stop questioning. If this video opened your eyes, don't keep this knowledge to yourself. Share it with friends and family. Together we can build a more resilient society against political psychological warfare. Hit that like button if you learned something new, and subscribe for more eye-opening content. Let me know in the comments what aspect of political psychological warfare surprised you the most. Until next time, stay curious and stay skeptical. This is Answers for Humanity, signing off.